International Women's Day is coming up. And g'day, it's Ryan the Lion from A Few Quiet Yarns, and today I'm here with Sheridan Broadbent, and we're going to have a yarn with Sheridan. And with what you've achieved as a professional director, I think it's a great story to share with everybody out there, both male and female, but especially, as we were talking earlier, I like to ask, what advice would you give to a young businesswoman who's got her eyes set on a career as professional director after she's gained the experience, say, because that's kind of how I see it, you gain the experience and then you move into that sort of role?
I guess my advice to that person, and this is advice I give to myself sometimes too, is actually focus yourself on being a chief executive. You know, in an operations sense, get on the line. Learn how to manage people and get yourself into a senior executive position, and lean into being a chief executive. Run your own business, whether it's your own innovation that you've founded or someone else's business. You know, we're going to have more women directors and more really awesome women directors carving up the issues if we have more chief executives, and we need to see more female chief executives in publicly listed companies and big operational organisations and small innovative startups than we are now. And I think sometimes there is a tendency for women to kind of take a bit of a sidestep in their careers and end up in specialist roles. It's really hard if you've had kids to come back into a line management role where you've got big teams, and I think that's where we're losing a lot of future chief executives, is that if you are a chief executive watching this, or if you are on a board, you know, we need to think of ways where we can bring women back into the workforce after they've had kids and get them back onto the line. You can do it if you want to do it, but you know, I often see, particularly in tech and engineering, where women will come back and then choose a specialist role, you know, project engineering or specialised development or quality or whatever, where you kind of end up down a career cul-de-sac, and from that position you're never going to be CIO, COO or chief executive. And that means that the pool of people who've run a business and have got, you know, the scars on their knuckles to prove it, and have leaned into the future of work, labour relations, health and safety, and all of those sort of general management things that you need to understand when you're running a business, we're losing them. And so are we getting the pool of well-rounded business leaders in the directors of the future? And you know, I do have a question in my mind about that. So I would say to any young girl, I've got a niece who's got such incredible potential, Kira, and you know, for her, put your eyes on being a chief executive. Don't muck around, and pin your ears back until you achieve your dream. Yep.
Great advice. And can I add something, and tell me if I need to edit this out because I'm a male, but women coming back from having children, I think are probably, and I hate using the word asset, but it's I guess a term of currency, I think are the strongest asset a company can get their hands on, or the strongest performer, because they have just been running a household and they're coming back to work. And I look at my mother, who's now a CIO. She ran a household, 2 boys, was president of the softball club for 13 years and grew 30 teams, and still cooked dinner, while Dad had much less on his plate, basically. So a woman, all I see in my life are women who actually are doing way more than men, but for some reason we're not giving women on the same numbers as men the same opportunity. It's not happening, but I guess in short what I'm trying to say is that women perform better than men.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Okay.
But I think that, because sometimes we're making choices for ourselves based on what we see, right? And if I don't see a lot of people that kind of look like me or that I can relate to in the big roles, then I'm not going to put myself into that position. I think, oh, I'll just come back and have an easy life, because for whatever reason I'm not coin operated, or I'm not particularly, I don't see myself down there. But what I would say is that if we're going to have a productive economy, and if we're going to run productive businesses and, you know, carve up the productivity issues, we need to make room in our businesses for all sorts of people. And returning to work mothers, my experience, have been absolutely fantastic. But I worked a long time ago for a company called Compass Communications, and pretty lean operation. And the chief executive, brilliant guy called Kareem Hussaina, he we had such a diverse, we hired a lot of immigrants into our workforce, both from a cost containment perspective, to be frank, but also because he was a very visionary leader, and I'm sure still is. And as a result, we had such a diverse workforce. It was very challenging to manage. I was in a general management position there, so sort of most of the people reported through to me, and I had to cope with that, and it was tough. But my God, the innovation, if you can put up with all the hassles and sort of dramas going on between people and try and work your way through that and create an environment where everyone's got their say and where we're not all working 40 hours a week, the benefits and productivity and the success you can get out of it are huge. So I think, you know, for those who are in a position to influence, we need to make room, and that's going to mean that things are going to look different. And me being at the office for 40 hours a week, and the culture of presenteeism and us having face-to-face meetings, and all of the other things that, you know, just happen because they've happened for the last 200 years are going to change, and they have to change.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about the future of the workforce and how that's going to make women in particular, but also anybody, feel like they can be the chief executive. And you know, with International Women's Day looming, you know, I would say to any female who's wanting to make a difference professionally in the world is get into a big operations role, because you have so much more influence as a business leader when you're in the business than you actually do as a governor. And I remember when I was an executive at companies like Telecom and even Genesis Energy, when you look up at the board and you think, oh my gosh, it's so scary and they've got so much influence. But actually you've got much more influence on how things roll when you're in an executive position. You're in it every day.
Yeah. That makes great sense as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Some amazing perspectives, and on one point about the amazing innovation and some of the challenges that you face in managing a diverse team or a multicultural team, or just diverse in general. I managed a software team, and we had, for example, people that didn't turn up to Friday drinks, which I put on for social, because their religion didn't include
Absolutely.
drinking.
We had that too.
So I changed it from Friday drinks at 4 p.m. to Friday social time. Of course, there was always soft drinks available, but they just saw the term Friday drinks and went, oh, I don't drink alcohol.
That's right.
And a range of other things. So when we ended up brought them together in a bit of a, we'll say, meeting, workshopy type scenario. And what we did is we agreed on the company culture. So it wasn't your culture, my culture, Kiwi culture, because I was the only Kiwi out of 10.
Yeah.
It was the company culture, the team culture.
That's great.
Yeah, handled a whole range of things with different cultures and the way they work, do things differently, and they would, you know, not cause butting of heads, but would cause challenges where people were doing things almost in opposite directions, because that's culturally how they've grown up doing it. So being able to set a company culture where everyone knows this is how we do things together, made a difference in some of the cool stuff that happened. I called it the United Nations of Development.
Isn't it amazing that the heat that you can generate from just getting a few of those subtle things right to make it okay for everyone to be a part of it?
To making it right,
Yeah.
For making it right for everyone to be part of, that's the magic. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
So I'll ask, I know the answer, but